Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
In the heart of the Arizona desert, where the sun hangs like a burning omen and the ground cracks beneath your boots, lies a place that seemed carved from the dreams of a feverish god. The Superstition Mountains don't rise, they loom, with jagged peaks and crimson cliffs casting long, ominous shadows over the parched land. The Apache called it Thunder God's Mountains. To the Spanish conquistadors, it was cursed ground. To modern thrill-seekers, it's a siren song of riches and ruin. The deeper you walk into these mountains, the more the silence changes. It becomes almost aware, like the land itself is watching you, breathing and waiting. And at the heart of this living legend is a name spoken with awe and dread alike, the Lost Dutchman's Gold Mine. The story begins long before Jacob Waltz ever set foot in Arizona. In the 1600s, Spanish explorers roamed these unforgiving landscapes in search of gold. One legend tells of the Peralta family, who reportedly discovered a vast gold vein in the Superstitions. They supposedly mined it in secret until a fateful expedition in the 1840s ended in massacre. Every last member of the Peralta family was slaughtered by Apache warriors who'd warned them never to return. The canyon where they died became known as massacre grounds. Even today, hikers speak of strange echoes and the feeling of being followed near that site. Some say the Apache were not merely defending secret land, they were protecting something more ancient. But when the Peraltas fell, Jacob Waltz rose. Jacob Waltz was born in Germany in 1810. He came to America seeking fortune, and like many during the mid-1800s, he turned his eyes westward. In the 1860s, he had settled near Phoenix, Arizona Territory, living humbly as a farmer. He raised vegetables, traded with neighbors, and to most, he was a quiet, solitary man. But Waltz had secrets. The locals whispered that he occasionally paid for supplies with large gold nuggets, too large to be casual finds. He never claimed to have a mine, but when he got drunk, rare as it was, he hinted at a hidden source. A place in the Superstitions, he claimed, so rich it could fill a salad bag in an hour. When Waltz lay dying of pneumonia in 1891, he allegedly confessed everything to a neighbor named Julia Thomas. He gave her crude directions like, from Weaver's Needle at a certain angle, look for a cleft in the rock where the shadow hits just right. But no exact map was ever given. Waltz died, and with him, the secret of the Lost Dutchman's mine seemed to pass through legend. But Julia Thomas believed. She sold her bakery, hired a team, and set out into the Superstition Mountains. She came back empty-handed. The story may have just faded then. Just another myth born of desperation, if not for what came after. The superstitions began to take people. In 1931, a man named Adolph Ruth, a 66-year-old Washington, D.C. bureaucrat and amateur treasure hunter, entered the mountain with a weathered Spanish map said to be a descendant of the original Peralta claim. He told friends he expected to find the mine within a week. He vanished. 6 months later, searchers found his skull separated from his body, with a bullet hole through the head. His journal was later recovered in a nearby canyon. One note stood out in eerie clarity. Veni, vidi, vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. But if he did find the gold before he was killed, there was no evidence of it. Then came the others. In 1947, James A. Cravey, a retired military man, hired a helicopter to drop him deep into the Superstitions. He was found months later decapitated. In the 1950s, Joseph Kelly of Denver disappeared. His campsite was found undisturbed, but he was never seen or heard from again. In the 1970s, a group of hikers discovered an old journal wedged into a crevice. The final entry read, I think something is following me. It never gets closer, just watches. By the 1980s, over 150 people had died or vanished in the Superstition Mountains, many searching for the Dutchman's lost mine. Park rangers started keeping count. The mountain had become a graveyard for greed, yet even death couldn't quench the obsession. The clues, real or fabricated, kept coming. Some were passed down through families. Others were found etched in old Bibles, carved into mine shafts, or claimed by mysterious friends of friends. One recurring detail appears in nearly every version. Weaver's Needle, a towering rock spire visible for miles, often said to cast a shadow that points to the mine at specific times of year. But time and time again, every clue led deeper into the wilderness and further into madness. One prospector, Old Joe, claimed in the 1990s to have found the mine after following a map copied from Waltz's own drawings. He described a narrow canyon choked with mesquite and dust, where the rocks turned black from the gold ore. But the land changed, he said. Trails disappeared overnight. Shadows moved. Voices whispered in languages he didn't recognize. Joe abandoned his search after waking one morning to find all his compass needles spinning in opposite directions and strange barefoot prints around his tent. He never went back. Today, the myth still burns as hot as the Arizona sun. In 2009, 3 men, Jesse Capon, Arden Charles, and Curtis Merworth, set out into the Superstitions, determined to succeed where others had failed. All were experienced hikers, all were prepared, and all 3 vanished. Their bodies weren't found until 2011, scattered in a remote canyon. The official cause was listed as exposure and dehydration, but their equipment was intact. One man's journal ended abruptly with the words, "We heard something in the rocks, not an animal. I think it spoke. It knew we were here." Even today, hikers vanish in the Superstitions every year. Local tribes still avoid certain areas of the mountain. The U.S. Forest Service has posted warning signs about the dangers of prolonged exposure, disorientation, and heat stroke. But some say they're just trying to keep people away from something, or someone, still guarding the mine. One of the strangest and most persistent parts of legend is this, that the mine is protected, not just by harsh terrain or bad luck, but by a sentient force. Some believe it's the spirit of Jacob Waltz, bound by gold and the greed that consumed him. Others blame ancient Apache spirits protecting sacred ground. A few have even claimed to have seen a figure, a man in long gray hair, dressed in a miner's coat, standing atop the cliffs that no person could climb. One hiker in 2015 described seeing what looked like a figure standing still near Weber's Needle. When he called out, it didn't move. When he raised his binoculars, it was gone. Another group, hiking at dusk, claimed to have heard the sound of picks and shovels echoing through a narrow canyon, despite being alone for miles. The legend has become more than a story. It's a living thing, growing with each missing person, every whispered account, and every shadow that lingers too long. So what is the truth? Was there really a gold mine? Historically, some geologists believe that a vein of gold could exist in Superstition Mountains. Others argue that the geology doesn't support it. Skeptics dismiss the story as folklore twisted by sunstroke and greed. But even they can't explain the deaths, the disappearances, the strange, unrelenting draw of a place where maps fail and logic breaks down. Maybe there was a mine once. Maybe there still is. But maybe, just maybe, the real treasure isn't gold. Maybe the mine is a mirror, showing each who searches for it the deepest truths of their soul. For some, it's courage. For others, madness. For the rest, it's an eternal rest beneath the Arizona sun. If you ever find yourself standing before the Superstition Mountains, staring at Weber's Needle as it cuts into the sky like a blade, listen. You may hear a distant whisper. You may feel the ground shift. And if you're brave or foolish enough to follow the Dutchman's trail, remember, the mountain does not give, the mountain takes, and the gold you seek may not be worth the cost of what you lose finding it. As we leave you here, under the merciless sun and the ancient silence of the Superstition Mountains, remember this. Some treasures glimmer with more than gold. They shine with madness, mystery, and the weight of every soul that dared to claim them. The Lost Dutchman Gold Mine remains one of the strangest and deadliest legends of the American Southwest. And if you're ever tempted to find it yourself, ask first what you're willing to leave behind. If you've enjoyed this journey into the deserts of our weird world, please share, like, and subscribe. Your support keeps these legends alive and the shadows talking.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.